My name is Ana Martinez, and for years I endured my mother-in-law Mercedes' humiliations. But I never imagined she would go so far as to sell the last connection I had with my deceased mother. Are you sure you have to go? Asked my husband Daniel while helping me pack. It was the first time in 5 years that I would travel alone to attend a training course in another city. It's only 2 weeks, love. Besides, your mother said she'd stay to help you with the kids. Those words sent a chill down my spine. Mercedes, my mother-in-law, had never hidden her contempt for me. From the day Daniel introduced me as his girlfriend, she looked at me as if I were something she'd found stuck to her shoe. My son deserves someone from a better family, were her first words to me. Not an orphan without connections. It was true. I had lost my mother 10 years ago in a car accident, and my father had passed away when I was little. But I had something Mercedes didn't know. The house where we lived, a beautiful property in one of the best neighborhoods in the city, was my inheritance. My mother had worked all her life to pay for it, saving every penny from her salary as a nurse. This house will be your security, Anna, she had told me before dying. Take good care of it. And I had. When I married Daniel, I decided not to tell him about the true ownership of the house. He assumed it was rented, and I didn't correct him. I wanted our marriage to be based on love, not material interest. Mom will behave, promised Daniel, interrupting my thoughts. I asked her to respect our space. I smiled weakly. If there was anything I'd learned in 5 years of marriage, it was that Mercedes never respected anything. The morning of my departure, while Daniel was taking me to the airport, Mercedes was already settling into our house, reorganizing my kitchen as if she owned the place. Take good care of my grandchildren, I said, trying to be kind once more. Of course I will, she replied with that condescending tone I so hated. Better than you, Shirley. I took a deep breath and said goodbye to my children, Lucas, 4 years old, and Sophia, 2. Be good for Grandma, I told them, hugging them tight. Mommy, don't go, cried Sophia, clinging to my leg. It's only 2 weeks, my love. I'll be back before you know it. I didn't know then that those 2 weeks would change our lives forever. The first days of the course were intense, but rewarding. Every night I talked with Daniel and the kids via video call. Mercedes always found an excuse to appear on screen and make some biting comment about how the house was much more organized since she'd been in charge. Midway through the second week, I started to notice something strange. Daniel seemed nervous during our calls, and the children weren't appearing on screen as much. Is everything okay? I asked one night. Yes, everything's perfect, Daniel replied too quickly. Mom's doing an excellent job. But my instinct told me something wasn't right. That night, I called my neighbor Elena. Anna, I'm glad you called, Elena said as soon as she answered. Strange things have been happening at your house. What kind of things? People have been coming to see it. Couples. As if they were, I don't know, as if they were interested in buying it. My heart stopped. What? Yes, and your mother-in-law receives them like she's the owner. I thought maybe you were thinking of moving. I didn't wait for her to finish. I immediately called Daniel, but he didn't answer. I called the house and Mercedes answered. Oh, Anna, she said with false sweetness. How's your course going? Mercedes, what's happening in my house? Your house. Her laugh was like breaking glass. Dear, I think there's a misunderstanding. This house needs a real family, not an orphan playing mom. I've already found perfect buyers, a couple with connections, from a good family. As it should be. Fury invaded me. You have no right. I have every right. Daniel signed the papers this morning. The house sells next week. Better find another place to live when you return. I hung up the phone with trembling hands. How dare she? And how had she convinced Daniel? I didn't wait for the course to end. I took the first flight back home, my mind working at full speed. During the flight, I called my former lawyer. Do you still have the property documents my mother left? I asked. Of course, Sana. Everything's in order as always. I need you to send them to me right now. And prepare a court order if necessary. When I arrived home, I found chaos. There were boxes everywhere, and Mercedes was directing a team of packers like a general at war. What is this? I demanded from the doorway. Mercedes turned, surprised to see me. Anna, dear, we weren't expecting you until next week. Obviously, I replied, my eyes scanning my destroyed house. Where are my children? At the park with Daniel. Look, I know this is difficult to understand, but it's best for everyone. This house is too good for someone like you. The new family buying it. There will be no new family, I interrupted, pulling the documents from my purse. Because this house isn't for sale. Mercedes laughed. Of course it is. Daniel signed. Daniel can't sell what isn't his, I said, spreading the papers on the kitchen table. This house belonged to my mother, and now it's mine. The color drained from Mercedes' face as she read the documents. Deeds, property titles, all in my mother's name and legally transferred to me after her death. This can't be. Oh, but it is. And now I want you to get all these people out of MY house. Immediately. As if on cue, Daniel arrived at that moment with the children. He froze when he saw me. Anna, I can explain. Explain what? I asked, my voice trembling with rage. How you tried to sell a house that doesn't belong to you. How you let your mother make decisions about our lives without consulting me. She said it would be best for everyone, that we could move somewhere closer to her. Of course she did, I interrupted. And you, as always, listened to her instead of respecting me, your wife. Mercedes, recovering from her initial shock, tried to intervene. If you had been honest from the beginning. Honest. I turned to her. Like you, who've spent the last 5 years trying to control our lives. Who tried to sell the last connection I have with my mother? Anna. Daniel tried to take my arm, but I pulled away. Don't touch me. I want everyone out of my house. Now. Everyone. Daniel's voice trembled. Everyone. I looked Mercedes directly in the eyes. Especially you. And if you ever try something like this again, I'll sue you for attempted fraud. Mercedes paled even more, if that was possible. You can't talk to me like that. I'm your husband's mother. And this is MY house. The house my mother worked all her life to buy. The house where I'm raising my children. And no one, not even you, is going to take it from me. The Packers, sensing the tension, began to quietly withdraw. Mercedes grabbed her purse, trembling with rage. Daniel, you can't let her treat me like this. But Daniel, for the first time in his life, didn't follow his mother's orders. He was looking at the documents on the table, his face a mask of shame and realization. Mom, I think it's better if you leave. What? You're taking her side? There are no sides, Mom. This is our house, Anna's house. And what you tried to do, what you convinced me to do, was wrong. Mercedes looked at both of us, her eyes full of fury. Fine. Keep your precious house. But don't come crying when you need help. She left with a slam that made the windows shake. The children, who had been unusually quiet, ran to hug me. Mommy, we're not moving anymore? Asked Lucas. No, my love. This is our house. It always will be. That night, after putting the children to bed, Daniel and I had a long conversation. Why did you never tell me the house was yours? He asked. Why did you let your mother try to sell it without consulting me? We looked at each other in silence for a moment, both acknowledging our mistakes. I'm sorry, he finally said. I should have defended you better. I should have set boundaries with my mother long ago. And I should have been honest about the house from the beginning. But I was afraid that money would change things between us. Like it changed things with my mother? I nodded. She always saw me as someone inferior, someone who didn't deserve her son. I didn't want you to see me differently for having this house. Daniel took my hands in his. Anna, I married you for who you are, not for what you have or don't have. I'm sorry I let my mother come between us for so long. And now what? Now we set new rules. It's our life, our family. My mother will have to learn to respect that, or stay away. The following weeks were about adjustment. Mercedes tried to communicate several times, alternating between manipulative apologies and veiled threats. Daniel, for the first time, stayed firm in establishing boundaries. We renovated the house. undoing the changes Mercedes had tried to impose. In the process, I found an old photo of my mother, smiling in the garden she loved so much. "This house will be your security, Anna," she had said. And she was right, but not in the way she thought. It wasn't just financial security that mattered, but the security of having a home of my own, a place to be myself without apologies. One day, while planting flowers in the garden, something Mercedes had always criticized as gardener's work, Daniel joined me, shovel in hand. "You know, my mother never understood why I fell in love with you," he said while digging a hole for a rosebush. "She always looked for the angle, the material benefit. She never saw what I saw, a strong, independent woman who built her life despite the losses." I smiled, covered in dirt, and happier than I'd been in a long time. "And what do you see now?" "I see the mother of my children, the owner of this beautiful house, and the woman who finally helped me grow up and face my own mother." I planted the rosebush carefully, thinking about my own mother and the lessons she had left me. The house was important, yes, but more important was the home we had built within it. Mercedes eventually tried to make peace, in her way. She showed up one Sunday with a cake and a rehearsed apology. "I just wanted what was best for the family," she said, avoiding our eyes. "We're the family," I replied calmly. "Daniel, the children, and me. And this is our house. If you want to be part of our lives, you need to accept that." It wasn't easy. Old habits die hard, and Mercedes never stopped making occasional comments about how things are done in good families. But she no longer had the power she once did. The truth had freed us all. The last time I saw her reorganizing my kitchen without permission, I simply smiled and said, "Mercedes, this is my house, and things stay where I put them." She left grumbling, but respected my wishes. And that small victory meant more than all the deeds and legal documents in the world. Now, when I look at the photo of my mother in the garden, I feel I finally understand what she wanted to tell me. A house isn't just walls and a roof. It's a space to be yourself, to raise your children with love and dignity, to establish healthy boundaries. And sometimes, those boundaries are the best inheritance we can leave. The years have passed, and our house has witnessed many changes. Lucas and Sophia have grown, filling the rooms with laughter and occasional sibling squabbles. Daniel has become the husband and father I always knew he could be, once free from his mother's controlling influence. And me? I finally feel at peace. I'm no longer the orphan Mercedes despised, nor the wife who hid her inheritance out of fear. I'm simply Anna, a woman who learned that the true value of a home isn't in its deeds, but in the love and respect that grows within its walls. Mercedes still visits, though less frequently. The last time she came, I noticed she was looking at the garden with different eyes. "The roses are beautiful," she said, almost reluctantly. "Thank you," I replied. "My mother taught me how to care for them." For a moment, I saw a flash of understanding in her eyes. Perhaps, finally, she was realizing that good families aren't defined by money or connections, but by love and mutual respect. And that, perhaps, was the best revenge of all. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video. Stay stunned.